Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this wonderful Q&A. I'll just warn you because I could chat to these guys for a long time because I so enjoyed this film. It's so immersive and it's an absolute pleasure to speak to the director, Nick Moran, and playing Alan McGee, Ewen Bremner. How are you, gents?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
I had such a laugh watching this film. It's so many things. I was saying to somebody that you almost like Irvin couldn't have written a character like Alan because there's this amazing kind of thing where you're going, God, is this real? Because of the life that he lived and what he went through, but also what he did and what he achieved. And I can't think of anybody better to have written and adapted this screenplay than Irvin Welsh in terms of how he is able to bring these larger than life characters to life in a way.
I think one of the most interesting things about working with Irvin was the sense of collaboration, because the first, and he won't mind me saying this because we're very open about it, the first draft was much more perfunctory as a script, and I sent that to Ewan, who responded in a really constructive way. He said, "Yeah, but what's this film about? What's this guy about? You know."
Mm-hmm.
And we had to go off and find it a bit more. You know, and the good thing then is because I was involved in it, and so I managed to spend time with Alan and have these little coffee mornings with him and have these chats with him, and he'd say sensational things, and I'm like, can I put that in the script? Well, I said it now, so that they found their way round the sort of the when myself and Dean and Irving collaborating to sort of flesh this out. At Ewan's behest, you know, we made the more about the character than just the story, and that was very much thanks to Ewan for pushing, for pushing a hard bargain and making sure that the character was there and that he was this guy with these issues, and it raised everybody's game, and we all collaborated on it. Danny Boyle as well. Danny sat the three of us down and taught us a strip and said, "Right, guys, it's not funny enough. It's not funny." And then we said, "Oh, okay." So we all went back to Elstree and scratching our heads and scribbling notes down and injected some humour into it. It was very much driven by Ewan and Danny to get the best out of Irvin and all three of us. You know, so I think that was one of the many great things about Irvin, was the way that he's very open about that collaborative thing. You know, and it was good.
Ewan, what was it for you that you, in terms of not of what you thought of Alan, but what you wanted to get across and what you wanted this film to be about, in terms of this, this character that we've all watched, we all think we know about his life, we all think we know what he's about and stuff, but what was it you wanted to pull out to kind of really kind of get into with the film?
Well, there's lots about Alan McGee that is really exciting and fantastic and legendary, enjoyable, wild stuff. But like Nick was saying, it's a biopic, and biopics are hard to kind of stand out from the crowd, and I think originally the script was just this happened to this guy, the end, amazing story, but yeah, like as Nick said, I wanted to feel it was about something, and I was badgering Nick all the time. I don't know if like the film winds up being about what I think it's about, or the Alan that I kind of fantasize about, because Alan's a chameleon. He's been through all these different Doctor Who iterations, and he comes out like in some new kind of dressed in some new kind of fantastic garb, going into the next chapter, and
the next genre of music almost represents his choice of clothing, doesn't it? It's the kind of
just about him, because this is really funny, and you will remember this. But I was having this conversation with Nat, the costume designer, and we were looking at all these pictures. We had this fantastic mood board with all these pictures of Alan over the decades, and Nat's hit the nail on the head, and he said what Alan is he's the guy that looks at the coolest guy in school and goes, "I'm going to dress up like him." And then whoever's the next coolest guy in school goes, "Yeah, I'm going to dress up like him." So he is this chameleon where he realizes what's going on, And you can actually see 1 minute he looks like he's in the Jesus and Mary chain, then he looks like he's in the Oasis. You know, he's informed, and he does it slightly better than the actual original guys did. And that was, and I remember talking to Ewan about this, and it was like, yeah, that's the guy. It's brilliant playing a character that isn't just this tempo, you know, that does around. That ties in exactly what Ewan was saying. Sorry to butt in, Ewan, darling.
No, not at all. And just to quickly answer you, Edith, no, that's exactly right. I'd forgotten about that, but that's exactly. We really did study Alan in every way that we possibly could. Maybe not possibly could, but you know, we didn't speak to his proctologist or anything, but we did really do our best, you know, to sort of get a really broad definition of the guy. And but for me, like, what was exciting to me is the idea, and this is something that Nick brought up and wasn't in the script originally, I don't think, was that there was one phase where Alan became really fascinated with the tradition and the lore of the magician. And you know, so we have Alistair Crowley in the film, played by Stephen Berkoff, and the stories were few, you know, about there's some great stories, that little anecdotes about magic wands in the first class cabin, you know, and Alan, you know, taking this very seriously, you know, traveling around and really studying this stuff, and studying the practice of magic. And the idea of alchemy and transformation became something that I felt was like this thread through the film, you know, like the idea of this guy that transforms this dirt into gold, like all the way through the film. He's constantly.
I think you're allowed to say shit, because the film's got like 136 and a few.
It's got all my favourite swear words in it. It's like that.
We can't do a PG Q&A. They've just said that. We had a C word board in the editing room where everyone we kicked it off, and at one point it was like, we need a bigger board. But no, Ewan's absolutely right. There were two things one scene which Danny Boyle was absolutely right to make us trim down, but it was we had this wonderful scene where Ewan's Alan describes the history of alchemy, and we put it on this double revolving table, but it was a little bit too rich and too early in the story, in the scenario of the film, and Danny is brilliantly brutal at editing, and he just gave me some notes saying that's got to go, trust me, take it out and it'll move better without it. And he was right. So that was the only scene that we both sort of missed a bit, because it was
one of the hardest scenes for us to achieve as well. Like
was it?
Nick had brilliant, for every single shot, all the sort of the juicy stuff came out of Nick's head. Like, Nick is brilliant at designing these shots and making them work. We were, you know, working on a shoestring and really tight video, but that shot was such an involved.
I had the table revolve at the same time as the camera revolved in the other direction. There's a few bits of it in there, but the actual sequence was much longer. But Ewan, I want you to see this if you can.
Wait, stand still. Do the whole of the law. Crowley, is it?
Yes, that's it. I'm now combat. But the other thing again is, as an actor, you become a director that listens to actors, which is a bit of a rarity. And one of the things that Ewan really pushed was, we had the scene with the magic wand and the Book of Thelma and the hat and in the whole costume, and the production kept saying, we're on such a tight schedule, so no, we'll have to push that. We'll push that scene till tomorrow. We'll do it next week. We'll pick it up later on. And they obviously just wanted to bin it. But Ewan was really pushing, going, we're doing the magic scene today. We're doing the magic scene. We are doing it. We are going to do it.
I want to be a magician.
The hat's on the bus. It's on the bus, Ewan. We're going to do it at the end of the day. We're doing it today. And it was literally the last day of filming, a pickup shot when we did the exteriors in Glasgow, which was, you know, the outside King Tut's and the skylines. You know, I made sure that yes, we've got the hat is on the train. The hat and the wand are on the train. We're definitely doing it. And it was almost the last, I think, nearly the last shot that Ewan did was that, because he was very adamant that we wanted that shot in there, and it makes the end sequence work. You know, when there's a man in tears, but you see him doing magic. So it's this wonderful. You want to laugh at him, but you want to put your arm around him. And I'm so glad that he forced us and helped us get that shot and have that little extra bit of bit of magic in there.
I mean, Alan is really a remarkable man. He has transformed so much and so many times in his life, and really has turned a lot of it into gold, you know. And he also worked with these elements that were so that nobody else would touch, you know, like all these bands that were so kind of dysfunctional and you know, breaking down and fights and just too much trouble for labels to take them seriously, I think. And he saw something in that energy. He's got an understanding of that kind of energy that is volatile, that he can turn into something that's really powerful.
There's also what I liked about him and what made it interesting and easier to acquiescent, that's the word, to work with him, was because he'll talk about things that happened or that he did, but it's not like he relives them. Like if I'm talking about something that happened, I'd be really pissed off at this, that, blah. Alan talked about it like he's passing a comment on it because it was another person, because it was years ago. Yeah. Oh yeah, and then this happened, and then I took a load of drugs and I had a breakdown, and he's like, but he talks about it as if it's in a compartment and it's over there. So it means that you can have this, you have a more interesting conversation about it because it's a little bit in the third person, because he's done that, he's closed the box and moved on. And this thing, that Alan's life, which is why the film works as well as it does, is you have this section and then this section, and then, you know, and then you have millionaire breakdown Alan, then you have Alan therapy Alan, then, you know, you have these different Alans, and they're all separate from each other in the way that he has turned the page on those things and has made a resolution with all of them.
I love the I think as well, you know, in terms of the tone of the film and how, you know, you have those kind of light and shade moments, you have the hedonistic moments, you have the kind of sobering moments as well. And I love the kind of the elements about his family and, you know, his relationship with his mum and his dad, and that scene at the end where he goes back with the Father's Day card is just so, it's such a lovely moment. And I just think that those are really important bits to show of him, you know, in terms of, because they show you almost the reason for the journey and the reason that he kind of fought so hard and was determined and didn't take no for an answer. You know what I mean? You can almost see the background of where that came from in a way.
There's two interesting aspects, and Ewan will have more interesting stuff to say than me on this. But firstly, I think that you have to have the sophistication and the empathy and the reality of the storytelling in order to buy yourself the opportunity to be gauche and crass and funny. You can make a load of dick jokes as long as you have that scene with the mother or that genuine relationship with the father. The scene with the father can be really, the scene with the father when he's aggressive, when he smacks Alan, when he's violent, is beautifully counterbalanced by the fact that he's such a funny, bizarre, brilliant character that it doesn't draw the film into anything too dark, and you can be silly and flippant. It's a difference between the Viz and Hunter S. Thompson. You know, you can be macabre and silly and have a load of crass jokes in there as long as you give people a bit of sophistication, and that's something that we managed to find. And again, a lot of that was to do with the way that Ewan helped to make the performances with the character real, because you had a very real relationship with, you know, or non-relationship with that family. And I thought that was something that the actors brought to life. A lot of that isn't, like, you think there's more dialogue between the family, or there's more scenes with the family, but there isn't. It's just the ones that are there are so well etched in your memory, you think that there was more.
Yeah. Did you spend much time with Alan, Ewan, in terms of, this is your interpretation of him. This is not, a kind of mimicry of him, but there's one scene where you come out the front door towards the end, and for a split second, I thought it was Alan, in terms of just how just the kind of the physicality of the character of him as well. You know what I mean? That you were able to embody sort of thing. But yeah, did you spend much time with him prior to filming, or?
Well, I'll just quickly say, and I hope Nick doesn't mind me saying this, that getting this film off the ground was a real Herculean task for a lot of people, Nick included, and for a long time it didn't seem like it was going to get off the ground.
That's so surprising, though. You'd think, the story of Alan McGee would be a no-brainer, really.
Yeah.
Oh, there was a lot of difficulty and a lot of. I'll wait till the film has come out and been a tremendous success.
This is the post-release Q&A.
I'll throw scorn from a height when I'm holding the BAFTA or the Oscar. Then I'll let everybody know that the amazing stories of how this film almost didn't get made.
Okay.
We're both being a bit.
So I won't say any more about that.
Okay.
I don't need to say about it, but I won't say any more about it. But as a result, I didn't know I was filming this film after being attached to it for years until kind of a few days before the shoot. And so it was rushed into a pub in North London where Alan does a radio show, because he'd also been out of town. I'd been hanging around in London for a few months waiting, and I don't think Alan was there or even in the UK at that point. I'm not sure he was traveling around. And so there was this brief opportunity to go meet him immediately the week before we started filming. And the producers, some of the producers were friends of Alan's, and Nick knew Alan, and they kind of accompanied me as a posse to this meeting, and they were all really nervous that Alan was going to take a disliking to me and was going to storm off. And so I felt a lot of pressure to.
I bet.
Alan was a total sweetheart. He's always been a total sweetheart to me since that first time I met him, and he came to visit the set a lot. But the opportunities to actually have time with him were really crushed, into. However, there's tons of documentaries that he features in, tons of interviews online, tons of literature about the man, and I'd been really plowing through that stuff over and over, and trying to get a measure of him that I could enjoy. It's not it's an interpretation of Alan, rather than it being.
I was about to say that it's our Alan. It's like, I think it's Ewen and mine's Alan on set. It's like our Alan. We understood our Alan really well, and our Alan was a little bit different.
And respected him,
absolutely. But there's comments, there's observations you can only make if you're not that person. So me and you will be able to have conversations about what he was really thinking, and that informs the scene, and it might not be the most flattering way to make it work. There's the great thing about Ewen was the way that you get. He's got very much. He's got very extra gears as an actor that most actors don't have. So you could go crunch, and suddenly we've got this thing that shouldn't come out of where did that come from? And you have to be able to use those in a way that still makes people still have to like the characters. They still have to not feel not be pushed away by him. So you can only make those comments you can only do that performance by really understanding the pitfalls of a character as well as the benefits of them. And sometimes it's better not to have the guy on set when you're having a conversation about how much he fucking hates his dad, and and how this and that sort of the result is what Ewen did on screen, which is fantastic. Yeah. But I'm glad Alan wasn't there in the conversations leading up to it sometimes.
Well, I think that one thing I wanted to ask Nick as well about this, there's when you think about the kind of structure of the film, the kind of technical side of it in terms of, you know, some of these scenes and what's asked of you as a director to kind of capture, both, you know, in terms of these brilliant kind of moments, like, for example, you know, the scene at the end, Ewan, where you're having, you know, this incredible outpouring on the chat show, but then on the flip side of that, you've got band performances, you've got the kind of sort of the trippiness of, you know, of the, you know, the acid trips and all that kind of thing, and the representation of the different kind of psychological moments as well. There's so many different elements there as a director that, you know, have to seamlessly fit through the story, but also just have to give you a creativity as well.
Well, I think the point of it is, you know, I'm not really a director, as in I'm not a guy that you hire to tell people where to put the cameras. You know, I'm an auteur. And the point of it is that I look at the script and say, what's the most intriguing, interesting way of compellingly telling this story? I know what we should do is we'll have everybody in the acid house scene suddenly do a little bit of Strictly and burst into a, you know, I know that will be really good. How do I make that happen? Every scene you look at, I know what I'll do is I'll put the camera on a slider, and I'll put the chair on a slider. And when the bank manager's talking, I'll do this so that you can see that the world of numbers and figures is an alien nation. And, you know, and then afterwards I'll put the soundtrack of a lorry reversing on it. So these things aren't in the script. It's just a bloke talking to the back. And of course, the first assistant, the line producer, the production manager going, what the fuck is he doing now? He's filming a man talking to a bank manager. He's got 30 foot of track. He's got an actor strapped to the camera. What is he doing? You know, no, because that's what it needs. It needs that. It needs that macabre all the time. You just reach in, and I have this on there. I did it on Telstar, which is a very similar style of film. I'm glad to say, and is that people look at the monitor, they're looking at me, whispering my mouth, going, "He's fucking mad. He's going to ruin it." And then you look at the monitor, and then they see the shot and go, "Oh yeah, yeah." Yeah. And I have that all day, every day. You know, I don't know whether it's my inability to communicate with beforehand, or people just are expecting this to be an episode of Doctors. But every single aspect of this film has to be. We've got nothing, but no money. We've got no facilities. We've got an amazing actor. We've got a pretty good director. We've got to make the most out of this. We have to wring the asset. So if the camera ever goes on sticks, it's a failure. And the only shot I did with the camera on sticks in the entire movie, and this is quite poignant, is the one shot of Alistair McGowan playing Jimmy Savile through the window when he puffs a cigar. And that's the only still shot. It's only 3 seconds, 2 seconds long in the entire movie. Everything else, something's on the move or something's happening, you know. So it's that idea that you cannot just go clunk, 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 clunk. You can't do it. You can't. You have to come out with. You have so many ways of telling a story, and the actor speaking is only one of them. No, you know, obviously I'm an actor myself. No disrespect, but it's nice to be able to help them along by creating an environment that also tells the story and drives everyone mad and makes everyone on set hate.
Well, you got to stick in your acting chops for a wee moment in there as well, Nick.
So, yeah, because no one else. I offered that role. It's like a few hours. Offered it to everybody because it would be a great cameo for like, oh yeah, Benedict's going to do it. Oh no, Paul better than me is going to do it. Oh no, we all had a friend who's going to come in and do that. And by the time we ended up going down to there's some bloke from Holby City. I'm like, no, look, just I'll do it. And it was actually I didn't want to be in it. It was just a case of, if we're going to pick someone more famous than that bloke from Holby, and then, you know, I'm here. And also Shelley, the producer, said, every time you describe the character, you do a little impersonation of Malcolm. Why don't you do it? Oh, okay. So the week came up, 8 o'clock in the morning, and we were on set. And then, you know, that was done in no time at all. That day, we filmed 10 pages on that day. Normally, just put this in perspective. When I was on Harry Potter and Ewan, who was a Wonder Woman, all the rest of it, you do an eighth of a page, like maybe. And an eighth of a page on our film, we did 10 pages in one day.
Wow.
We were just rattling through it. So, you know. So yeah, I just put the wig on and did Malcolm, and then directed the rest of the day with a prosthetic nose on.
Flounced around for a couple of minutes. I loved it. It was so good. There's some great cameos in there as well. That it's almost like it's a good. I was like, oh, there's Paul Gallagher. Oh, there's Bez. It was like all these kind of but it's lovely little kind of moments and connections to the actual world as well. You know, they're not just thrown in there willy nilly. It's lovely little tiny little nods of things. I like
I'm glad you noticed them. Yeah, they're there for the aficionados to go, oh, it's that guy. It's that guy. You know, we did. We could have had more obvious ones in, but I'm glad we just put a couple of subtle ones in. You know, the rest of it, it's much more of a. Otherwise, it can distract. You know, you can be.
Yeah.
People start saying blah blah's in a film. Liam Gallagher's in a film. You know, well, no, let's just have some little cameos. Let's get his brother in.
Well, I guess that's a fine thing as well when you have so many of the musicians in the background as kind of in and out characters as we go through the different bands that Alan's part of as well, and casting that side of it must have been, because it's like you say, you don't want to have like Oasis playing in the background, you know what I mean, but you want to, but you have to, there has to be a bit of, I don't know, resemblance or knowingness there, I guess, in a way.
I think I remember, and I thought it was very, very touching. I've been running around Elstree doing a million other things and left Ewan to his own devices, and I got this, picked my phone up, and there was this message from Ewan saying, I don't know where you found those makeup guys, where you found Luca, but he is a fucking genius. Those guys are fucking genius. I love them. This is amazing. And that was such a wonderful thing to hear from Ewan. And Luca, he said, you know, he's this really cool little, he looks like a sort of super sexy Italian ski instructor, you know, like, and he's not, and he was like, I can make anybody look like anybody. And that's, and he can, it's brilliant. And when I spoke to him about this, we had this was thrown together, as Ewan said, it was, you know, it was do nothing for 18 months and then 2 weeks to put the film together. So we really, it was a scramble. I had a coffee with him in the Charlotte Street Hotel, and I said to him, what I made him and a lot of the HODs made everybody watch Vice, because I wanted this to be like an Adam McKay film, like The Long Short or Vice, where you take something that is historically accurate and maybe a little bit perfunctory, like you know, like the financial trading or American politics, and you put the macabre and satire on top of that. And the way that they made the people look like people without them being caricatures, without it being fitting image. And Luca's eyes lit up, and he just went off and did his magic. And you know, he was. I think Ewan should pick it up from now about how great he was. Yeah,
I just love working with people that are good at their job, and that wigs and makeup and changing people into familiar faces that you know, so many of the people in this film are real people, and so if you don't do quite a good job with that, then the film looks cheap, you know. You know, there's some people that we could, you know, obviously some people it's more of a stretch to make them look exactly like the person, but he makes them look real. Like, makes everybody look authentic and part of that world. Wig work is really tough on a big film. Like when you've got all the money in the world, wig work is really tough. When you've got no money on a film, wig generally just look shit. They look just pointless and stuff. But he's like one of those, just he's got these $1 million fingers that can just, he doesn't stop. He does not stop puzzling it out through the whole shoot, just improving. What can he improve on? Like, Lucas Ackerman. He's
I mean, what he did with you and all these subtle things that that you don't really notice, but he made these pieces so Ewan's ears stuck out a little tiny bit, just that little bit. Just that little bit, and he made them a little more like Alan. He had little mouthpieces, so he just had a little bit more, more. It was really subtle, and you wouldn't notice it. You just see Ewan and go, wow, he really looks like Alan. You wouldn't necessarily.
That's what I said about when he comes out the door at that one point. I'm like, no, it's still you.
Yeah, you wouldn't say there's a guy with things in his mouth or things behind his ears. You just go, or wearing a wig. You just go, oh, there's Alan. And he did that with, like, very subtly with Joe Milson as Peter Mandelson. He made a little pixie nose for him, just a tiny little turned up pixie nose, and it's just subtle enough. You know, these little tiny things, and it somehow made people look like people without making them look like they were made up or that they which is where that Vice Adam McKay thing, who obviously had much more money than us, you know, but that, you know, that inspiration that where I asked them to look for inspiration.
Listen, as I said at the start, I could talk to you all night, but we've run out of time. Nick, you've made a brilliant film. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't wait to watch it again, actually. And you and your interpretation of the Wee Ginger too, I think, is just absolutely brilliant. It's so great to watch. It's so entertaining, and it's really moving as well. I think you've just got that tone absolutely brilliant. So massive congratulations, and thank you so much for your time and talking to us today for Glasgow Film Festival.
Thanks so much.
It's a massive thank you to the Glasgow Film Festival. It's the world premiere of this movie. It's the first time anyone in the world is going to see the film. And it's at Glasgow. It's fantastic. Thank you.
Perfect. Away round to King Tut's and have a pint on us, will you, please? Take care, guys.
Thanks, Edith.